Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Lo and I make tattoo and body mod content. So hit up the subscribe button and let's go. Today we will watch together and review a Bailey Sarian video, and as you can see I'm really excited. I love Bailey Sarian. I'm such a fan of her and I never thought that we would watch together or review a Bailey Sarian video on this channel, because she does mostly murder, mystery, and makeup.
It's murder, mystery, and makeup Monday.
So she does true crime and makeup videos, but she also does this amazing series called Dark History that I highly suggest. She has a lot of different episodes on many topics, so it's all the little nitty-gritty, grim, and dark things throughout history that aren't really taught in school, or not thought this way, let's just say. So she's brutally honest, she's really funny, and so today we'll watch a Dark History episode together. I'm really happy she has done a video on a history of tattooing, and we will watch about half of it because it's too long to watch the whole thing and react into one video like this. It would be like 2 hours long of a video, which we will not do. And as a tattoo enthusiast, I'll give you my little 2 cents on what she says. Are you ready? By the way, do you like my shirt? It's my new Mandalorian shirt. This is the way.
This is the way.
I will link down below the link. It's from an Etsy store. I really love the design, so if you want to buy it, I'll put a link down there. It gives me a little commission if you do, which is nice. By the way, just so you know, if you are interested, if you love the design, I would recommend not to put this shirt in the dryer, because apparently the design does not like the dryer. So just so you know, FYI. I love the title she chose for the video, Magic Tramp Stamps and Taboo Tattoos. It's really nice. It's really funny. I wonder what it's gonna talk about. Magic Tramp Stamps, what the hell?
Tattoos have always been a little controversial. But what if I told you tramp stamps used to be a source of magic? Tattoos created a whole class of criminals in Japan. And did you know back in America's early days, the best way to prove your patriotism was to get a big fat tattoo of George Washington?
What the hell?
Hot. So what do tattoos say about us?
When I said
and why
she's
are we
funny,
so obsessed with them?
That's it. She's amazing.
Hi friends, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. My name is Bailey Sarian and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast, Dark History. Now if you're new here, this is a chance.
By the way, she does it in YouTube videos and in podcasts, but I just love Joan in the back, which is the little crow she has. Today she has something on, we'll see that. And I love the decor, it's really amazing, so I love to watch the videos.
This is a chance to tell the story like it is and to share the history of stuff that we would never think about. So all you have to do is sit back, relax, and just let me ramble and tell you all about that hot, juicy history, guys.
She's amazing.
I remember the first time I ever saw a tattoo. I do, I remember this. My kindergarten teacher, actually not the teacher, but the teacher's assistant, the teacher's first mate. I forgot what her title was, but her name was Laura. Hey, Laura.
Hello.
Laura. Well, Miss Laura always came to class with an iced coffee in hand. She also had box-dyed hair that was always changing. And one day as she was passing out crayons, she bent over to pick up one of the crayons, and boof, there it was. It was a butterfly on her lower back. Ooh, she got some secrets.
Okay.
Anyone with a butterfly tattoo on their lower back
90s.
has secrets.
It's back in style.
And then, of course, as I got older, I heard the term tramp stamp, which I'm sure we can all agree here is a very slut-shamey term. Right. Thank you so much.
By the way, I don't remember the first time I saw anybody's tattoo. I don't know, is it because it's normal? I don't remember. One of the first icons I used to see with a tattoo that I liked was Melanie C in the Spice Girls. If I remember well, she had you know, that really 90s tribal band on the armband. I still absolutely love the Spice Girls, by the way. I have a magnet of Melanie C on my fridge and she stays there. I've had that since I was like 6 or 7.
Have tattoos always had this bad rep? I needed answers. Now, if you've ever seen me before, you could say that I've definitely dabbled in the world of tattoos. My skin at this point is, I consider it a museum. It's a work of art.
That.
I'm an art collector. But I had no idea when I was first starting to get tattooed that what I was doing was actually an ancient tradition. And the Tramp stamp, perhaps the most ancient and beautiful tradition of them all. Buckle up, ladies and germs, because today's episode we are getting into...
Did you just say ladies and germs?
To the nitty, the gritty, the beautiful, and devastating history of tattoos.
Funny.
Joan has gotten some work done. If you're watching this over on YouTube, she is covered in... Would you call this a sleeve, Joan? I would call this a sleeve. I have one too. She also started smoking. Most of the stereotypes is that people who get tattoos smoke. And where that might be true, Joan, it's kind of rude.
That's
I
true.
quit. And I want that cigarette. Joan!
That's true, because when I had flashy, like super bright red hair, you can go down in my videos to see I had that at one point. People were just asking me for a smoke. I was just like alternative, like always in like faux leather and stuff, and with band t-shirts and flashy red hair. Everybody, I didn't have much tattoos at the time though, but people would ask me for a smoke in the street, because apparently I had the style for it. Same thing I would guess with tattoos. Nowadays, people don't ask me that. Well, I might be asked once or twice.
Tattoos have been around for thousands of years, and they have been found in unexpected places, on unexpected people, and for unexpected reasons. I'm talking from all over the body to small little finger tattoos. I mean, these are old as Thigh tattoos, also ancient. The Tramp stamp, as I've mentioned, tale as old as time.
I thought it was just a 90s
You're probably wondering, okay, Bailey, but how do we actually know this? Well, for starters, it's because archaeologists found a 5,000-year-old mummy with tattoos. Wow. This mummy, he was built different, literally. His name was Otzi. Otzi was an Iceman who died over 5,000 years ago up in the Italian Alps. And when he was discovered about 30 years ago, he was found like face down on a mountain. Which honestly was like, I was like, me. Literally, I did a hike back in like 2019. It was the last time I did a hike because I just fell face down in the dirt and I gave up. Where was I going with that? I'm not sure. But what I'm getting at is it was a huge moment for the scientific community. Otzi, not my hike. So Otzi's body was accidentally mummified. In other words, it was preserved almost perfectly by the snow and ice that covered him quickly after he died. Now, because of this, we know a lot about him. Maybe a little too much, but I kind of love it. We also know that he was left-handed, had cavities, and was 46 when he died, and had 61 tattoos. This little detail in particular blew archaeologists away. Because before the Otzi was found, they had never found evidence of any tattoos in this time period when Otzi was alive. Now, there was something unusual about Otzi's tattoos. The scientists, they reasoned that what they were actually seeing was ancient medicine. Otzi had these tattoos on his body, specifically in places where he had wear and tear on his joints and bones. And this led scientists to the conclusion that Otzi was using his tattoos for healing purposes. Basically, he would cut into the area that was bothering him and rub the charcoal into the wound, creating a tattoo. This was a practice that was believed to help heal. I mean, they had to get creative, right? I wonder if it worked, actually.
Well, I'm pretty sure it did not work. Because you just have a risk for infection there for no reason, especially at that time they didn't know about what we know today in terms of sterile environment and all of that. But I mean, there were so many traditions and ancient beliefs. When you think about it, it makes sense, you know, you just do something in the area, you put needles in it. I'm not gonna go dive into anybody's beliefs, of course, but yeah, and it's gonna help. I mean, it's part of human history.
These tattoos weren't too fancy, though. I mean, they were all like little lines, sometimes crosses. But what's especially crazy is that quite a few of Otzi's tattoos are in the same places as modern-day acupuncture pressure points. So, you know, when you go get acupuncture,
that's what
and
I
they
was
put all
just
those
talking
needles
about.
in you. And
Exactly, putting needles, that's exactly what I was talking about without naming it. So that's why I said I don't want to go into anybody's beliefs, because I don't believe in acupuncture myself. I'm sorry.
Put them in certain spots. So maybe, you know, they did this to give Otzi some relief with the charcoal in the wound. That's what, yeah, that sounds about right. For me personally, I am just like Otzi. Look, I also use tattoos for healing. Usually after a breakup or something major in my life happens, I tend to get a new tattoo. I don't know why. But I get it, Otzi. I'm there with you. I consider it.
Why would you go to therapy when you could get a tattoo? I mean, it's about the same price. Okay, therapy as well. No, go to therapy, kids. Important. But get tattoos as well. Why not?
Like, kind of like reclaiming my body. You know what I mean? Starting a new chapter. It's just therapeutic. And people thousands of years ago apparently believed that too. Yeah, it wasn't just Otzi. Ancient Egyptians between 4000 and 3500 BC were also getting tattoos. But unlike other cultures, it looks like in Egypt, tattoos were only for women. Which love. I freaking love Egypt. They're the And apparently, the most important tattoo an ancient Egyptian woman could have was a tramp stamp on her lower back. It was believed that having a tattoo there would actually protect you during childbirth. And it kind of makes sense that they want some kind of protection, because throughout history, childbirth has been extremely dangerous and even deadly still to this day, right? So it's like, yeah. So these ancient Egyptian women would pray to the goddess of fertility, Hathor, and really do whatever they could to like have her protection on the big day. But there were some important rules associated with these powerful tramp stamps. It is believed that these tattoos were only quote unquote activated or worked correctly if all of the women involved in the birth, I'm talking like the midwives and any priestesses who were there, also had the same tattoo.
What?
Another popular tattoo that Egyptian women would get if they were expecting looked almost like a belt made up of dots. This was supposed to bring good luck and protect the child during pregnancy. It was believed that these would act like a net, like expanding with the stomach during those 9 months, and keep any dark magic like evil spirits or demons from entering the womb. So slut shaming is also a tale as old as time, because up until pretty recently, tattoos were totally dismissed by historians. One archaeologist named Louis Kamer wrote a book in 1948 all about tattooing in ancient Egypt. And in it said that all tattooed women in Egypt were, quote, prostitutes of dubious morality.
Oh, we love these old historians, male historians, when history was just about men shape the world like women don't even exist. Or women are all sluts and all, you know, some of them, well, of course it's not all men. It's not all men, never. There's some that were fine, but these just ruin the men's reputation, and women's as well.
So yes, he claimed all tattooed women in ancient Egypt were sex workers, and because of that, he called them morally dubious.
That's so stupid. She just talked about the reasons that we found out with time of why ancient Egyptian women were getting tattoos. But he just said, oh yeah. According to what I know, which is my current morals and current beliefs, there were just sex workers. Just so easy to just like use today's point of view to just judge history. And in the end, you realize it's not even saying that. It's not even, they were not even sex workers. They were just women giving birth. So like they could have been, it's a possibility. You need to explore every hypothesis, right? As a historian, but apparently it was not true. So not a very good historic work. I'm sorry, dude.
Lewis's theory was that these tattoos were given to prostitutes who had sexually transmitted infections, kind of like a warning label. You know, like, hey, this person has crabs. Just FYI. So this was an interesting theory, but everyone rolled with it because it seemed like the most logical explanation until infrared imaging came along. Now, infrared imaging is an amazing tool scientists developed fairly recently that basically shows way more detail than the naked eye, like evidence of tattoos on shriveled up mummy skin and hieroglyphics on tombs. And armed with this imaging technique, scientists figured out that Louis was freaking wrong. Tattoos weren't for prostitutes
with science.
STIs at all. In fact, tons of high-ranking women in ancient times had tattoos, especially in ancient Egypt. Many of the tattooed female mummies that early archaeologists found were buried at Deir el-Bahari, which was an area specifically for royal and elite burials. Amunet, a mummified high priestess who was discovered in 1891, was given a very prestigious burial and had tattoos, which blows old Louis' theory out of the water. The funny thing is, when they first discovered Amunet's body, those dusty old archaeologists wrote her off as, quote, probably a
dusty
royal
old
concubine
archaeologist
because of her tattoos. They honestly probably gave her that name because they couldn't believe that like a woman could have so much power and whatnot. Damn it. Like today, Egyptian women had their own tattoo trends. It was common for musicians and dancers to get tattoos of the goddess Bes on their thighs and chest, since she was the protector of women, homes, and children. As far as tattoo methods go, the Egyptians did something pretty similar to the modern-day stick and poke. They used a wooden handle with 7 sharp needles on the end. They would punch these needles into the skin to create the pattern and rub the ink over the skin at the end so it could absorb into those holes.
This looks so painful and long. Like, I've seen someone getting, I think it was a Maori tattoo, traditional Maori tattoo with a similar technique. At the convention that I went last year. I have a video about it. Let's plug it over here. So I think I have a video, a little clip of this in my video as well. I was just like, ouch, that looks painful, but it was really a thing to witness, let's just say.
And whatever shape you chose. To help heal the tattoo, the ancient Egyptian women would rub human breast milk over their new tattoo. Which actually kind of makes a lot of sense. Have you ever put like milk over a sunburn?
No.
It helps like your sunburn heal a lot faster. And when you put it over a tattoo...
No, I don't have sunburns because I use FPS. Please, guys, use FPS on your tattoos. And your skin overall and your face. You will get less wrinkles and your tattoos will remain fresh for longer.
From start to finish... It seems like the whole tattoo process in ancient Egypt pretty much revolved around childbirth, which is pretty dang cool because it takes on a whole different meaning in other parts of the world. I mean, especially in ancient Japan. Now, I have to say I'm very excited to talk about this because one time I went to Japan, this was years ago, and I fell in love. Japan is so cool. The culture in Tokyo, because I went to Tokyo. So, I mean, it's next level. The energy.
I want so bad to go to Japan eventually, but I'm in Canada, if you don't know, so it's pretty far, so it's a very long ride to get there and it's really expensive. It's a project eventually. Within, I would say, the next 10 years, I have a lot of ideas of places to go, but of course Japan is a place I would really love to visit.
The people, the food, it was so clean there. Wow, I loved it. It was amazing. I want to go back. I can't.
The food, the Japanese food. Oh my god, I love Japanese food. You know, I come from a background where we were eating like really, let's say, not traditional, but really Canadian food in terms of, in my family, we were not eating much of the world's food, like Asian food or Mexican food. When I was at my parents, and when I left my parents, I was vegan and I discovered so many types of food. When you're vegan, you really need to cook. Because otherwise you starve, right? And Japanese food, I've always loved Japan in general. I was into forums when I was younger, Harajuku, Quebec. So if there's any friends coming from there watching today, hello. So Harajuku, Quebec was a forum we had when I was a teen. We were fans of Japanese culture, Japanese fashion, and anime, of course. Japanese music, it's part of the culture, but right? So we would go to the Japanese festival, Matsuri, in Montreal and eat bento and things like that. So yeah, I always loved Japanese culture.
I was only there for like 3 days. Not enough time. Would not recommend.
3 days.
And there's something else they've been doing right for thousands
more
of
than
years.
me.
Tattoos. And their contribution to the history of tattooing is very controversial.
Ooh.
It all starts during a time called the Jomon period.
Okay, I'm gonna stop again just to say one more thing. The only thing I know about Japan and tattoos is that it's not really liked by everybody. I think it's because of the Japanese mafia, she will tell us, but I know that a lot of people from the Japanese mafia or mafias, I'm not sure how the gangs work, I don't know much about this history, but I know that they had tattoos, so that's where what we see today is from, sort of traditional Japanese. A lot of mafiosos had that, so a lot of criminals, so it's not really liked in Japan. So much so that if you go in Japan, and that's one thing I know as well, is that if you want to go in an onsen, which is a spa, I'm not sure if it's outdoors or indoors, you would have to tell me in the comments if you know. Onsen, Japanese onsen, do you know if it's outdoors spa like hot tubs or inside? I'm not sure, but what I've heard is that if you have tattoos, certain onsens will prohibit tattoos, so you have to check prior to going before you go to an onsen if you have tattoos. So I could just not walk in a place and just assume. There are little, I will try to find you an image, but there are like signs in different places, no tattoos, no people with tattoos allowed in, so you have to check that out. I mean, when you think about it, you're like, why? It's not very nice, but it's not your country, you don't make the rules, okay? That's just how
From around 10,000 BC to 300 BC. Archaeologists found similar clay figurines dating back to this period in Japan, and they were pretty similar to the ones I just mentioned in Egypt. They had intricate decorations on them, which turned out to be tattoos! The Japanese have a beautiful word for tattoos. They called them iritsumi, and these Japanese iritsumi have been associated with so many different meanings over the years. Some men would get tattoos for protection, especially against like large fish.
What?
The big players in charge.
Protection.
As time goes by, Japanese tattoos become more about a sign of your rank in society, like what tribe you're from and how important you are. But then in 1600 AD, in Japan's Edo period, something happens that changes the course of tattoo history forever. At this time, a powerful military government ran the country from a town known as Edo, which is now Tokyo. This was a pretty iconic time in Japan. I mean, the arts were flourishing, fashion was colorful, the economy was booming, and people started to flock to cities. The population of Edo grew to over 1 million people, which made it one of the biggest cities in the world at that time. Before the Edo period, a common punishment for crimes was amputation of the nose, fingers, and ears. But in 1720, tattooing replaced amputation.
She talked also about this in a previous dark history video that I really loved, which is the one on plastic surgery. So it's an amazing video if you want to go watch it. It's about the history of plastic surgery. I learned a lot from that video. Love it.
As a form of punishment. Crimes like stealing and fraud would be punished with a specific tattoo, like a black ring around your arm, or even the name of the crime would be put on your frickin' forehead. And this was so the other people would know what you did. It's a sign you literally cannot take off.
Can you imagine you just walk and there's someone and it's written rapist or murderer on their forehead? I think I'm gonna have to bleep the first thing I said because YouTube does not like that word.
Branded for life. That sucks. Sometimes there was a 3-strike policy. Each crime was punished by a single mark.
It's kind of
and by the 3rd mark, you were out. Yeah, it was like the death penalty. Yeah.
You're out.
Good luck.
Oh, okay.
This was an easy way of identifying repeat offenders before fingerprinting and all the technology we have now. But instead, it actually created a worse problem. People who were committing crimes had this permanent tattoo on them, kind of like a scarlet letter stamped on their freaking face, right? And even if they saw the light and they regretted what they did, it didn't matter. The tattoo meant that people treated you differently for as long as you lived.
Laser did not exist at that time, right? So you have that for life. Even makeup, could you hide it with makeup? I know makeup existed, but not like today.
Imagine you have a tattoo on your forehead that said like, I stole a pair of earrings from Claire's in 2005.
Did she?
You know, like bangs can only cover so much.
I think she did.
Plus, that's gotta hurt. How would it look as it wrinkles? So over time, these people feel like outcasts, obviously, and are pushed out from society. They decide if they're always going to be seen as criminals, they might as well be a criminal. I mean, what other choice do you really have? The tattoos ultimately created a new class of citizens who were literally referred to as the untouchables. Like, people wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. This class only got bigger because people continued to commit crimes. And over time, people started making homes and raising their families right there in these tattooed communities. So this
looks like, you know, tattooed community of criminal people, gangs and stuff looks kind of dangerous. And I can now start to understand the history behind hating tattoos.
Quote, criminal class of people decided to lean in and started getting more and more tattoos. Over time, they would get so many tattoos that their entire bodies were covered. And some did it to hide their criminal tattoos. And others did it as a way to reclaim the power that the punishment tattoo took away. Rather than looking at their criminal tattoo as shameful, their full body art became a point of power and pride.
It's like, okay, you wanna stamp me? I'm gonna stamp myself with beautiful art and reclaim it. Reclaim the power. That's pretty nice, actually.
The Japanese used a similar hand poke method like in Egypt, but it was called tabori, which translates to hand carve, which sounds very painful. But there's a long stick with a group of needles on the end, which are dipped into ink and then jabbed into the skin in a flicking motion. But because these tattoos were so intricate and colorful, they could take months to finish. And not only that, they were actually pretty toxic. Yeah. During the Edo period, powdered arsenic, which is a toxic and deadly substance, was added to tattoo ink to make it darker and last longer. People started reporting that they were having like allergic reactions and a whole bunch of other health complications.
Even nowadays, we don't know all that much about the ink that we have and the possible complications. Of course, we know much more. It would not be allowed to use the inks in the ways that we do if it was really dangerous. For example, I've had a little reaction of because of red ink. I know a lot of people react to red ink. I recorded for such a long time, it just stopped. I don't know where, whatever I was saying.
And eventually, they would have to stop using it. But even this couldn't slow down the tattoo culture in Japan. In fact, it probably only gave it more of an edge. And this is when the criminal class takes a step further and starts to enlist in the Yakuza. The Yakuza are known around the world as very powerful, very influential, organized crime groups in Japan. I'm talking everything from murders in broad daylight to political corruption to white-collar crime. I mean, they go all the way back to the Edo period. They also are known for helping the community in times of crisis. For example, after a huge earthquake in 1995, they were one of the first groups at the disaster site giving help to those who need it. So there's two sides to the story, you know? Most members of the Yakuza can be identified by their full body tattoos. Over time, these full body tattoos became a sign of loyalty to certain gangs and were associated with organized crime, which is why to this day...
So I look like a criminal maybe for some people? Like, look, I have flowers on myself. I'm a dangerous criminal.
1870s, tattoos were actually banned for a period of time. But we all know, like, when you ban something, it just makes it more fun and you want to do it. So tattoos, as they always do, made a comeback. But they still had a bad rep over there. When I visited Japan, I went to the spa. It was like, you know, a spa, right? And they had this beautiful pool. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to go to one of these spas and, like, go into the pool. And I was walking up to get into the pool, as one does. No. And I started to take off my my robe. And then this woman who worked there, she came up to me and started shouting at me. And I was like, what? Like, oh my God, what? Like, she was panicking. She was like, do not get in the pool. I was like, oh my God, is there like a body in there or something? Like, what? But she had explained that if my tattooed ass had gone into the water, I would poison the water. Yeah, so she's like, you can't go in. You cannot get in the water. You're going to contaminate the water. We're going to have to drain the pool. Do not go in. I didn't argue with her. I mean, look, I'm not in the States. I'm not going to act like, no. I was just like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I covered myself and left. I was so embarrassed. You know, I'm not going to be a piece of shit.
Yeah, that's one thing you need to know. So yeah, you need to know that in Japan you cannot just go in a spa. I would just not recommend. If you're tattooed, look it up before, look at the onsens and look at which one will accept you.
But I found that very interesting. And naturally, when I was in Japan, I was like, what the f was that about?
Right. If you don't know.
And then when I looked it up, that's when I found out that tattoos are a lot of times just straight up banned in lots of locations like bathhouses, which is, I think that's where I was at, like a communal spa situation. So that was my experience. And I thought I would share it. You're welcome. Even though tattoos are pretty controversial, they do have a big-ass festival once a year where men with full-body tattoos march in the streets wearing nothing but, like, they kind of look like a white thong. It's kind of hot. So here's something interesting I learned. You know the word stigma? Like having a bad rap for something you did or maybe you were accused of doing? Well, the Latin origin of that word means a brand or scar or a tattoo. A stigma equaled a bad mark, and these stigmas would a lot of the time be tied to enslaved people or criminals, like the untouchable class. I mean, we do see this throughout history time and time again. In the Nazi concentration camps.
Okay. We'll just stop there because otherwise it will be much too long of a video. So that's it. If you want to watch the rest, she speaks about really interesting things about America and also indigenous tattooing and American traditional tattooing. So if you want to check it out, you can go see. I'll link it down below and also over here right now at this very moment. So Bailey Sarian, Magic Tramp Stamps and Taboo Tattoos, History of Tattooing. Of course, it's not the history of tattooing regarding every possible histories, because as I've told in the video before, I talked about a bit. Maori tattoo is one. There's like so much tattoos all around the globe, and so much history of different communities and different ethnicities who have tattooed, and different traditional art and neo-traditional, you know, evolving tattooing art. So tattooing has been present for such a long time, as we see, as far as 5000 BC, which is crazy. I didn't know that. Many things she said I did not know about. I had things here and there I knew. I didn't know about the Egyptians at all, like nothing. So that's really nice to know. And a bit about Japan, as I told you, but now I get a better sense of why tattooing is not liked that much in Japan, because of their specific history, which we do not have in Canada. Of course, we have like big gangs and criminal and mafia history here as well, but not in that way, not relating to tattoos in that way. So I hope you liked this video. I plan maybe to talk about more tattoo history in the future and different styles of tattooing. So if you like these subjects, you can hit the subscribe button and like this video. If you want to check out more, I have a whole channel on this subject. So that's it for today, guys. It's a very different reaction video than I made in the past, so it's nothing like, you know, these reality sensational shows. I've done that once. If you want to check it out on my channel, you can see what I made is that I have different playlists. So I have different playlists. Of course, I talk about tattoos and body mods, but I also have playlists varying on the subject, and you can go watch more there if you'd like. See you next time. Thanks so much for watching.